Welcome to the Falling Off the Floor podcast. I'm your host, Austin Becker, and this is your home for adventure, travel, addiction, recovery, the outdoor and ski industry, and of course, redemption. Welcome, everyone, to the Falling Off the Floor podcast. This is episode 8. I am here in Denver, Colorado. That is a crazy thing to...
Welcome back home.
It's been... I just went on the craziest ski adventure trip of my life, for sure. I was gone for a total of 2 months, and it was legendary, man.
Yeah.
So a little bit of backstory of how this all happened, and to give the listeners some insight, this episode we're going into the craziness of Boston. We got a bit into that at the end of episode 5. We were talking about kind of the beginning of the worst time of my life, which was being on the streets of Boston, so we will get into that, but we're going to start with a little bit of check-in, what Naveed and I have been up to. So beginning of January, I left on the road in a van, traveled all throughout Colorado, I was in Steamboat for a bit when the snow was falling there, Mary Jane, Copper, then went down further, was in Aspen, went to X Games, did episode 6, I think that was, with Jess. Jess Gresho was awesome. We actually recorded that in the van.
Yeah.
The video hasn't come out yet, but we squeezed on the couch thing in the van, and it was very comfy.
That looked awesome too.
Yeah. Me and Jess were just met each other, and we're just squeezed up against each other doing a podcast in the van, but it was actually kind of a fun way to do it. So we recorded that. That was super fun. We literally recorded it in the parking lot of X Games.
Yeah.
So we were up at X Games, watching the event, supporting some homies in the event, and it was a super fun weekend. I skied Highlands. I skied Snowmass. Where the hell else did I ski? I kind of skied all over Aspen. We did a little bit of touring up in the Leadville area. In between Minturn and Leadville, we stopped at Ski Cooper.
Oh, nice.
The ski resort, and there's a real Ski Cooper grooms this kind of cross country track.
Yeah.
That goes around the mountain, and then you cut off the track onto a skin track. So we went all the way up there, went up to this place. It's called Vance Cabin. It was beautiful, man. It's up by where the 10th Division mountain, military folks of Colorado were training. So the old military cabins and bases and everything are up there. And they have tons of signs about the history and stuff. And it's actually it's pretty crazy. So in World War II, obviously all over Europe it's cold and snowing.
Yeah.
And they were finding that throughout Italy and Germany and all these places that the military of these countries was trained in mountain maneuvering and rock climbing and skiing and all of these different things. So the U.S. was oh man, we got to figure this out for this war.
Yeah.
So they put together a team, and they have this... Camp Hale is what it's called. I was blinking on the name. So Camp Hale is out there. It's in the kind of middle of nowhere, off the beaten path. It's probably 30 minutes from Leadville. All the old military stuff is there, but that's where they were training U.S. soldiers to deal with insanely harsh winter conditions, and you had to be a hardened mofo to get through that program.
Yeah.
And these were the toughest men and ladies maybe ladies weren't fighting in World War II, were they? Maybe. I don't know what it was. Anyways, it's like super cool, and that's like that whole area up by Ski Cooper, Vance's cabin, all of that. They were training on skis, like uphill travel, mountain travel, the way like safety things with avalanches, and so there's a lot of cool history back there, and it was kind of cool, like going up through that area, and like it was nothing crazy. It was all like low angle stuff. It was more about just like the adventure and like learning about the history, but it was kind of cool to like be skiing through there.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then went from Aspen. We were gonna go to Taos, but they were getting hit with no snow.
Yeah, they hardly got any snow this year. I mean, towards the last couple weeks, I think they're getting some.
Yeah.
But no, nothing much.
They were struggling, and it was like all together going from Aspen to Taos and then to Utah would have been like 16 hours of driving to like do that triangle, and we were just like, it's not worth it. And instead it was dumping in Utah, so we're like, let's go there. So we headed to Utah. I was there for like a week, skied awesome blower powder for like every day that I was there. Then I flew out of Salt Lake to the great and powerful Alaska. And the great and powerful Alaska changed who I am as a human being. As someone, it was a really crazy experience because as someone that like grew up kind of in the world of like competitive skiing and watching ski movies and watching all my idols, like Alaska's like the spot. Snowboarders, skiers, anyone in snow sports, like Alaska is the cream of the crop for those like quintessential huge lines, spines, steep, I've never been to Japan, but it looks incredible, like blower powder, but you're not skiing the type of terrain that you see in Alaska. Like Alaska's that just untouched, like flying in. We had a layover in Seattle, and just flying from Seattle to where you can start to see Alaska, and luckily our crew was on the side of the plane that was facing like the coastline. Dude, it's like mind-blowing. Mountains as far as the eye can see, and the woman sitting next to me was from Alaska, and we're chatting a little bit, and really nice older woman, and she points out and she's like, that's Denali, and you just see Denali in the distance. This it's like the first time you see Mount Rainier. It's like, whoa, that's a fucking mountain. And yeah, even from a plane super far away, it's just like so much bigger than everything. So yeah, we landed in Anchorage. We were all kind of on separate flights. Jared and I were on the same flight from because he lives in Utah. So we flew out of Salt Lake together and then connected through Seattle to Anchorage. And then we met up with all the Colorado folk in Anchorage, rented the car, and then we were staying in Girdwood, which was like a perfect central location for us because we knew we wanted to do like, maybe an inbound day or two at Alyeska to check it out. It's on the pass, like might as well. So we went to Alyeska. That place is rad.
You guys got like a rope drop line, right?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We got there and it was snowing. It had snowed like the whole day that we got there, and they had just come off like this crazy cold spell. It was like -25 in Anchorage, like standing temperature, which is like super cold for Anchorage. Like everyone thinks like Alaska is this like, I mean, yeah, Alaska is freezing and it's a tundra, but like everything along the coast, it's like in terms of temperature, it's like pretty similar to like the mountains of Colorado, like 20s, and then they deal with rain. Like Alyeska has to deal with a lot of rain being so close to the coast. It was a weird thing. You could be at the bottom of a chairlift and it is pure ice and like sleeting, barely snowing, or kind of raining. And then you get to the top and it's like just dumping snow, like the biggest flakes you've ever seen in your life. So it was a weird like contrast because they have that like heavy maritime snow, and with an El Nino year, these storms coming off the coast are warm, and so yeah, it was kind of weird. But if you drive like 2 hours north
Yeah.
into like Fairbanks or whatever, now we're talking like the Arctic tundra, and that's like what you think of when you think of Alaska, like freezing cold,
Yep.
negative temperatures every single day. But in the Anchorage area, it's like, you wear like when we went out at night or went to dinner, it was like you wear a puffer and jeans and you're
Mhm.
like totally fine.
Yeah.
But anyways, they had this like crazy cold spell. It's snowing a ton, and we get to Alyeska, and there's only like a handful of lifts at that resort. It's very small. But we got to the top about midday, and we see this ski patroller going up. It's this area called the North Face. So it's this like, the way that I could explain it, it's kind of like the Cirque at Snowbird, where it's like kind of a skinny ridge line that you can traverse across, and you can choose from a multitude of sketchy lines. Like there's couloirs, there's skinny chutes, there's open bowls, like the lower section is trees and like huge drops.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got up there and the ski patroller, there's like two other people maybe waiting there, and we were like fourth in line for the North Face opening, and we are all standing there, and the ski patroller is like, yeah, we'll be open in a few minutes. So like we called the rest of the group, we're like, yeah, you guys got to get here like now. And me, Daniel, Jared, and Albert were like all with each other kind of in a block, and we dropped that North Face in like if it was Colorado blower light snow,
Yeah.
it would have been snorkeling,
Yeah.
but in that heavy Alaskan snow, it was still like waist, like every turn's like waist deep,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was at one point I heard Daniel hollering behind me, and I was just like, this is wild. Like, this is why we're here. So Alyeska's cool. It kind of like, I don't know, after skiing the backcountry and big mountain stuff that we skied, it's like, why the hell would you ever ski at a resort in Alaska? And the other crazy thing is like being at sea level.
Yeah.
I felt like a god touring. We did a 10,000 vert day that
Yeah.
felt like 1,000-foot day in Colorado.
That's crazy.
Like the difference of touring at 12 to 13,000 feet, where we're touring in Colorado, to touring at sea level.
Yeah.
Now I totally get why athletes hate playing in the Mile High City.
Mhm.
Like every team that has to play at home against the Nuggets is like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, here we go, Mile High City. Like, I get it.
Yeah. Totally.
And I grew up at 8,000 feet, and
Yeah.
I was always like, we played tennis.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was another big thing, is people would come up the mountain to
Mhm.
play high school tennis matches, and the ball's flying, dude. Just
Yeah. Not much air resistance there. So.
yeah. Everyone's serves are going along.
Mhm.
We loved it. When we had home matches, it was like, bring it, honey. So, excuse me. Anyways, we did Alyeska the first day. Actually, yeah, we did Alyeska the first day, and then this guy was like, for several months, just a random dude on social media is like reaching out to me like pretty often, like responding to all of my posts, sending me messages, and then he saw that we were coming to Alaska, and he's like sending me messages like, I'm from Alaska, I've lived here for 45 years, like I know every square inch of these backcountry routes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a pro level Avi, I have pro level Avi certifications. He's like, I want to take you and your crew out.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this guy like just trying to like sell his like
Mhm.
guiding stuff on us? And so I didn't respond. And then finally, like pretty close to the trip, he's like making it very clear that he just wants to ski with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was like, all right. So I reach out to this guy. Dude's in his 50s, and we had no idea what to expect. But I finally message him back, and he gets back to me like immediately. He's like, "Meet me and my son at the gas station on the main highway, next to Girdwood. Just follow us, and we're gonna take you to the zone."
Fuck yeah.
So this is like our first day Alaskan backcountry. It's just me, Daniel, and Albert. The rest of the crew were just like, you guys, it's not quite. I'm not trying to take people out into that sort of terrain that are not, because we had some people there that weren't like, they were there to like have fun.
Yeah.
And not. We were like, me, Daniel, and Jared were very objective based about this trip. We're like, all right, we need clips. We want to ski the most badass shit
Yeah.
can in a safe manner. And when we woke up that morning and I texted him, he's like, "It's a green light day, man."
Yeah, I saw like a story from Daniel, like the screenshot of like, which is really unheard of, like like the above tree line, near tree line, below tree line is a green, green, green.
Yeah.
Like that is so crazy.
And like very few problem areas, and like
us living in Colorado, that is just unheard of, and it's just like
doesn't happen.
No, never happens
Until the spring.
Yeah, exactly.
Like once we're all of those persistent layers and everything are healed and melted, it's like we can ski bigger lines in Colorado, but you're not skiing
Yeah.
neck deep Alaskan powder. And so anyways, we pull up and this guy is like quintessential Alaska. Just like weathered dude and his young like 22, 23-year-old son, and they are stoked.
Yeah.
He is like, "I'm so happy you reached out to me." He was like, "You have no idea like how much I've been looking forward to skiing with you." And I was like, "Cool, man. Like this is awesome." And he didn't expect anything from us. Like no, he literally just saw my content on Instagram and was like, "I want to ski with this guy. He's coming to Alaska." And he just got his Pro Avi cert, so he's like trying to hold on. I don't think I ever pressed record.
I did it. It's all good.
Well, sorry for that little break there. We realized the cameras were not recording. We have the whole studio set up now. So anyways, for the people that are watching via video, I apologize. The first 17 minutes of this thing are going to be
just a graphic.
Yeah, just a graphic. Maybe a beautiful shot of the Prime Minister of Bangladesh here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and is just out in the forest, meandering. Anyways, so this, older weathered guy is like stoked to ski with us.
Yeah.
Not expecting anything, just got his Pro Avi certs, and he's like trying to get into heli guiding, and he's got a lot of connections, and he was just like doing this because he wanted to ski with us and like have a crew to ski with. So we had no idea what to expect from this guy. You look at an older dude like that, and you're like, is this guy gonna be able to like hang? This dude is ripping.
Yeah.
On the up track, and we're like, holy shit! Like this guy is badass. He's ripping up the up track, and he took us to Turnagain Pass, which is an area about 45 minutes from Girdwood, and like the drive in through the pass, I don't know if I've ever seen anything more beautiful. It like the sun doesn't come up until like 10:30, 11 in the winter. So we're like driving through this pass. It looks like Daniel in the passenger seat's having a stroke. Like he is so mesmerized by these mountains. He's Jared's in the back driving up, and we pull up, and he points at this peak.
Yeah.
Like pretty far in the distance, and he's like, "That's what we're skiing."
Wow.
And I was like, "Holy shit. Welcome to Alaska."
That's crazy. Did the road go all the way, like to the base or near-ish?
The road just kind of drives through the middle of the pass.
Yeah.
And there's like pullouts where you can park. Kind of similar to like, any of these Colorado passes, Berthoud Pass, Loveland, whatever, where you're just like but
A lot more consequential
Yeah.
if you drive off.
yeah, yeah. So, anyways, we skin up this thing, and we're looking at this peak, and it is like this perfect, untouched masterpiece in front of us, and there was a lot of people on the track that day. Not like a lot,
Yeah.
I'd say there's probably 10 other skiers doing this mountain, but the face of this thing is like massive, huge open bowl. Definitely avalanche terrain. We're skiing like, this is steep stuff, like 45, 50 degrees. But it was definitely the more mellow touring day that we had. They were kind of, I think, trying to see where we were at.
Yeah.
So we go up this thing, and we have the lap of a lifetime, dude. I got to the bottom and just was like, basically like profusely crying, like out of just the sheer beauty of like coming down. You can see the ocean in the distance, these massive
Mm-hmm.
untouched peaks. And the crazy thing about Alaska is that with that heavier snowpack, snow sticks to like basically straight up and down surfaces.
Yeah.
Whereas in Colorado, it's so light, everything blows away, and you see all the mountaintops are rock. In Alaska, it is all white. There is like very little rock showing on any peak.
Mhm.
It's just stuck to like vertical walls.
Yeah.
So that was like a new thing for us too, like skiing some of these pitches that would never ever hold snow in Colorado
No.
with like a 400 inch
Yeah.
like base. I mean, it was the amount of snow they have in Alaska right now, and I mean that's the whole reason we went. It's because we were struggling out here in the beginning of the year, and it was
Yeah.
like, well, Alaska's getting pounded. Let's go there. So we did that first day. That was like a life-changing experience. I got to the end of that day, and I looked at his name's Andy, this old dude, and I was like, I fucking love you, man. Like that was rad. Like
Yeah.
you just made like a little Austin Becker, 7 years old, watching ski movies, like dreaming of doing this someday. Like you just made that dream come true. And they were just like so stoked to like share that with us,
Yeah.
which was awesome. So we did that. I think we did one other inbound day to Alyeska, and then the real literal runs of my life. Like that first day we did a few laps, because like you're touring at ski level or at sea level, you can just fucking lap, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff that would take us a full day in Colorado to do one lap. We
Mhm.
were taking like 3 to 4,
Nice.
and just like quick on the up track. Transitions were super quick. But the real meat and potatoes was Hatcher Pass. So Hatcher Pass is pretty far from Girdwood. It's like you drive up through Anchorage and then like another 45 minutes, and I'm blanking on the name of the town, but holy shit. that was definitely the craziest line I've ever skied in my life. There's this section off of Marmot Mountain, which is in Hatcher Pass, and there's these chutes called the Ray Wallace chutes.
Yeah.
Dude, we get to the top of these things, and we're looking at like 55 degree. Some sections, depending on how you take the line, is like feels like vertical, like 60 degree slopes.
Yeah.
And all of the cornices are mandatory 15-foot drop in.
Yeah.
Like, and we're like, how the hell are we gonna ski this thing? And so we kept skinning up a little bit further, and someone had cut a keyhole in one of the cornices. They like sawed it out. Still pretty big mandatory drop, but not like a super overhung, like you're standing on this thing, you like in Colorado, we're pretty terrified of cornices. I mean,
yeah.
in general, and safe like mountain travel, you should be scared of cornices
Correct.
the size of like a skyscraper.
Mm-hmm.
These peaks, all of them have these crazy loaded cornices, and the snow was so stable that we like walked out to the side of these cornices, and like the guide Andy that we were with, he's like, this is chill, like you guys don't have to like worry that much, like we've been out here a lot, we've been studying the snow, like this is all good. And we come up to that first line at this keyhole. There was one other track that was probably done like 5 days previous that had filled in with another storm, and
Yeah.
we are green light day. There's always avalanche risk. Doesn't matter if it's green light. Could be level 1, and you could knock off the biggest avalanche ever. So, like, we were being safe about it. Exit routes, ideas of, who's chasing if the avalanche comes, who's coming at, all these things that
Yeah.
planning out. But, I'm standing there at the keyhole, and everyone's kind of shitting their pants. Like, I'm more stoked than I am shitting my pants. But I can tell, like, oh, by the way, Jared, total legend, kid that I grew up with riding Big Bear with,
Mm-hmm.
one of my closest friends growing up. Guy's never skinned before,
Yeah.
ever. Rents a split board, skins all the way up to Marmot with us on a board he has never rode
Ridden
on.
before, yeah.
He's standing at that keyhole, and he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, are you sure, man? And he's like, yeah, fuck
That's
it.
crazy.
He was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, he's an incredible rider.
yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty wild. And I could tell everyone in the group was pretty nervous. Andy, the older guy, the guide, he was like, I've been looking at this line for 15 years, man. He's like, we've never had, like, stable enough snow. He was like, I would never think to do this in the middle of the winter. Like, this is not a green light until the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you pull up, like, Onyx or any of the topo maps,
Yeah.
they have these, like, little like, on Onyx in particular, they have, like, skulls
Yeah.
where people have died.
Yeah.
There's like 6 skulls in the exact line that we skied with all of these different avalanche like reports, and
Yeah.
you get the full report of like how the person died or passed away and like knocked off the avalanche. And Andy felt super confident. He was like, dude, I've been studying the snow. It like if we're gonna do it, today is the day. But the crew is pretty nervous, and Albert and Andy's son were like, this is like a little bit above our skill level.
Yeah.
And this is a no-fall zone.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You fall, you have a higher likelihood of dying from falling on something like that than you do from an avalanche.
Yeah.
Because dude, the vertical drop of these things, I've never skied such steep terrain for as long as we did, dude.
Mhm.
Like, the vertical descent is just insane.
Yeah.
And so Albert's like, we got to take a different line. So we split the group. 3 went one way, 4 stayed with us. They did another couloir that was not, it was about, a quarter mile around, didn't come off the peak of Marmot, but a little bit lower down. And, we're on the radios with them communicating, and Daniel was about half a second from pulling out of this, and I was like, dude, like, we got this. Let's fucking do this thing. And everyone's kind of looking at me to take the honors, and I'm like, well, let's do it. I was standing in that keyhole, knowing I've got like through this cornice, like, not a very big drop, maybe 10 feet. But the thing is, you're dropping 10 feet into a vertical chute,
Mhm.
like vertical. So I
Yeah.
came off, and it was like hard, basically jump turn like immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I came off the cornice and my skis were already turning to be in that slower position, and then like jump turn, because you're not like pinning that. You are dead if you were pinning that.
No, that's crazy.
And the descent is long.
Yeah.
that was the run of my life, man. We, I skied a spine that will live rent free in my head for the rest of my life. Like skiing these spines and like looking off one side to the left, and it's a good 1,000-foot wall drop off, which really gets the juices flowing. And just kind of like surfing these spines and slashing the spines, like, oh man. By the end of it, I was crying. I got to the bottom. Daniel's like full tears, like, that was the best fucking run of my life. He's freaking out. You know, we're all just like, it was such a special moment. And then to see Andy, this fucking legend, this hardened Alaskan man, like, for the listeners, like, I don't even need to explain how this guy looks. Like, you can already picture it in your head. This dude is like a hardened Alaskan man. Super long gray hair, just like ready to rip.
Hell yeah.
This guy comes down. He's got his prescription glasses under his goggles, and his jaw is like on the floor. Like, he can't even speak. I've been skiing in Alaska for my whole life, man, and like that was insane. Like, that is the craziest
That's
shit.
crazy.
And just like looking at him being so stoked, like, he never would have done that without like our crew and like everyone like really pumping up the idea of this. And he made it all happen. Like, we, you know, the fact that we didn't need a guide or, you know, like have to pay people to like take us out there or whatever, that was crazy. And of course, we get to the bottom of that thing and we're looking at our clocks. It's like 2:45 at this point. And because the sun comes up around 10:30, 11, so we're starting up the up track around, you know, 11:30. So by the time we got down the first lap, it's like 2 something, and sun goes down at 4.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, you know, maybe a little bit later, like 5 or whatever. We came to the bottom, and we're like, let's do this. Like, we got to rip this thing again. So we are up tracking another few thousand feet, just like,
book
it. Let's do it. And we took a different route up that Daniel and I don't know what came over us. It was like I think, you know, runners call it a runner's high or a second wind or whatever. We were locked in. 36 Chambers, Wu-Tang, playing out of my phone. Me and Daniel are like a quarter to a half a mile ahead of like everyone else. I don't know what came over us, but we were just like, we've got to do this again. And we had been scoping another aspect of the same couloir, but coming in from a different way, which is like the literal tip of Marmot. And this like face of it is like basically vertical. The first like 30 feet of it is vertical, like mandatory jump turns. But we're ripping up the up track. Andy, older dude, right behind us, ripping. I don't know what. Maybe it was the old dirty bastard, like, you know, coming from 36 Chambers, Wu-Tang, giving us the juice to get up that thing. But we were ripping, and so half the group was like really feeling it, and they ended up not skinning up with us. They only skinned up about halfway and did. There's like a kind of a ridgeway about halfway up the mountain that they transitioned, and me, Andy, and Daniel went back up, and we went about, I don't know, 250, 300 feet higher up on Marmot to like the actual tip and skied that front face. And that's like the video on Instagram and stuff of Daniel with the 360 camera like over the cornice and me like dropping in. Dude, the sun, it was like golden hour.
So it looked so pretty.
The sun was like coming down, the alpenglow on all of the mountains around us. And I was just like, it was crazy, man.
Yeah.
I could not believe it felt unbelievable. And it's funny, I talk a lot about Woody Hayward, who is my saving grace. Dude saved my life in Maine. He taught me a ton of lessons. He's definitely the reason that I'm sober. I texted him yesterday. I keep up to date with him, and that reel that I posted the other day that was lessons from a 65-year-old ex-addict. I sent that to him, and I was like, "Yo, I gave you a little shout out on the podcast. Love you, Woodman, whatever." And he responded. I'll read the response because it is so like New York. Let me pull this up here. It is next level. My God, are you living the best life or what, motherfucker? So fucking proud of you. Man, I got no words. Here's the thing, bro. You're passing it on. One alcoholic to another. That simple. So appreciate you keeping the old guy in the loop. Thanks for sharing, Beckstein. Keep keeping on. Carry the message and not the mess. And that was that was another lesson.
Dag.
He used to teach me a lot was carry the message, not the mess. Of like just helping the next alcoholic, helping the next person struggling with mental health. Like there's no magic pill for this shit. So the only way that people get sober is talking to somebody.
Yeah.
You're not going to get sober in silence. So carry the message, not the mess. That's,
what would you say? What, like top 5 days of your life?
Oh boy, boy, oh boy.
There's nothing like everything coming together,
dude. Yeah.
Like that.
I don't want to say it was the best day of my life, but it was very close to the best day of my life. Just the people, the vibes, everything. Skiing, like, stuff I never thought I was going to ski. And, like, the reason I brought that up is, like, I was standing on top of that peak thinking to myself, like, pure silence, not a single human for, like, miles and miles. Thinking, like, holy shit, I was on the streets of Boston 6 years ago shooting heroin with the worst people you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
In like a really horrible spot. And now I'm standing on top of like a dream come true, ready to drop the craziest couloir and spine line I've ever skied in my life.
Nice.
And it was just crazy. And that's why like I sent that to Woody the other night. Just kind of thanking him. I was just like, thanks, man. Like, I sent him the ski video of me standing on top, and I sent him the real me talking about, get comfortable being uncomfortable. So yeah, man. I mean, that day on Hatcher's, Marmot, all those lines, there's another area that we were in called, Angel's Fire, or the Fire Angel or something like that. But yeah, that whole zone, Hatcher Pass, is like, holy shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is what dreams are made of right there. That was crazy. So next time I go to Alaska, this was kind of I look at it as kind of the warm-up. I would like to go down to Valdez, ski Thompson's Pass, do some like heli-assisted touring down in the Thompson's Pass area. That is also like the quintessential super deep snowpack, huge spine lines. So that's definitely next on my list is getting down into that zone. But yeah, Alaska was once in a lifetime. Then I flew back from Alaska to Utah. The snow was falling in Utah, and I was like, well, I'm just going to be here for a little bit. Yeah. So I stayed in Utah for 2 weeks, skiing more blower snow, like day after day. We did the fundraiser at Snowbird, which was awesome. Last year, they raised like $2,500. We set the goal at $5,000 this year and ended up raising almost $6,000, which was awesome. That was like a magical day, dude. That was the most skiing I've ever done in my life. Yeah. I feel like I was fucking toast, man. By like lap 12 or 13, because we were only taking tram laps at Snowbird. It's a lot of vertical feet per lap, and I was gassed. 15th lap, ripped the heel binding out of my ski. thankfully, I had another set of skis in the car. I skied on one foot all the way down the cirque, rushed to the car, grabbed my other set of skis. We ended up skiing 16 laps total, ran back to the tram, and we all did the 16th lap together, and it was an awesome day. And the
Nice.
snow was great. Vibes were good. Ski Utah came out there. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention had a table set up, and that's who we were raising money for. That was just like a awesome experience. So, yeah, I was back. I was in Utah for like 2 weeks, and then I just got home. Skiing more blower snow, dude. Like, literally come home and it snows, a foot at Winter Park,
Mm-hmm.
blower snow at Mary Jane, went over to A Basin, Copper, caught powder every day that I've been home.
Yeah.
So the snow's been crazy good out here. We got this big storm on the way Thursday. But yeah, it was a wild 2 months, and I'm pretty happy to be home. It's this was a long trip, man.
Yeah.
It was a long one.
It's kind of crazy, like how like a lot of these plans that we make, it just like gets like shifted around due to like weather, due to like the snowfall. We liked it, like, we even in the beginning of the podcast we were talking about going to Jackson Hole, but then like Jackson Hole didn't end up getting snow. It just like the whole, like, our life during the winter months is just so dependent, and like thank God we are like so flexible to like keep everything flexible to like go wherever we want.
Yeah.
And this is kind of awesome that way, but it's just so crazy that like people to like make plans like around skiing like good stuff, like
Yeah.
it's just insane, like it will snow like a foot, like like one day, and for 2 weeks there's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
It's pretty wild. This season I've felt it especially, that it's like, yeah, I having the flexibility of the way that I have my life set up right now is pretty awesome. That I was just like, well, snow's falling in Utah, so I'm gonna stay there.
Yeah.
It's not really falling in Colorado. Jackson Hole's not getting it. Jackson Hole finally is getting filled in
Yeah.
now. They just got a massive storm.
Mm-hmm.
Huge storm cycle came in. Like, when I heard they canceled Kings and Queens, it's like, we can't go there.
Yeah.
What's the point of going? Like, there's no snow.
So crazy.
And who's struggling even worse than them is Montana.
Mhm.
Like, Big Sky. My friend Jenna that I did the fundraiser with, she was just telling me the other day that they canceled her hut trip in Montana. There's no snow on the fucking skin track.
That's insane.
She had a like multi-day.
Mm-hmm.
We're facing a different issue.
Yeah, we're facing an entirely different issue.
With our hut trip, that
See?
snow is so unstable right now. We got these weak layers all throughout the zone that we're going to be doing our hut trip through, and it's looking like it's probably not a safe idea to take a bunch of people into the zone that we're going with the conditions that the snow are. So
Yeah, it's not that we're like skiing like super steep angles. It's just we're gonna be underneath a lot of overhang stuff that is like more than 35 degrees, which is like the avalanche zones. And a lot of the Colorado problems are like base layer is so weak, you can trigger everything from underneath.
yeah,
And it's just
somebody died on our, literally, AJ was telling us someone died on that skin track
yeah.
remotely triggering an avalanche like years ago. And I just saw he messaged the group that huge avalanches are knocking off in that zone right now. It took out the parking lot that we would have our cars parked at,
Yeah.
like for the where we would stage the vehicles. So yeah, that's part of this industry in general, is that we're super weather dependent. We're super snow stability dependent. And, thank God I don't have to be the guy that, like, calls my boss and, like, in 7 weeks, I would like 4 days off. And I'm going to go to Park City. And it's like, couldn't be me.
Yeah, and also you go there, there's like
No
like
snow or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Or there could be a ton and you just get lucky, but, like, planning out ski trips that far in advance, like,
Oh, yeah.
miss me.
constantly, our eyes are on like the open snow and all these like other like, like forecast like apps, because we're planning and changing our plans constantly depending on where the best riding is going to be. Because I feel like we are at a point at our life that we're like realizing that, like, like this is what makes us happy. This is what kind of, gives us stability on everything else we do. So just like this is
Yep.
what we chase. And it's like it's to a lot of like a lot of people's like perspective, it's like, okay, what are you doing with your life,
Yeah.
but like I feel like to us it just what makes us happy, what makes us keep going, what makes us like, not like, hate our life at the end of the day. So
Yeah. I you know, I was talking to my buddy last night or yesterday actually. Um and we were talking about the fact that like especially in the sports industry, we talked about this with Becca as well, that like mental health is not something that's like ever really spoken about
mm-hmm.
uh in the outdoor industry. And he made a good point. He was like, you could ski as much blower powder as you want, and like if you are not like doing well like mentally or in the head or whatever, he was like, you can get to a point that like the mountains can't even like cure you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is like something so many of us rely on, is like this is like our lifeblood. And like I got to a point that skiing wasn't enjoyable anymore. And I was so miserable in so many different aspects of my life that finding that like solace was not coming from skiing anymore. And that's when you're like, all right, I need to get some help. If skiing's not helping, I got something deeper going on. But man, when things are going well and the snow's falling, can't draw it up much better than that, Doc.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so you went to Egypt.
Yeah, I went to a Middle East trip with my family. I got to see them after like almost a year and a half. That was really wonderful. We did a lot of like, just like Middle Eastern thing. I like, opted out to rent a car and like drive around to like, some of the most beautiful like, landscapes of Middle East. It was wonderful. I kind of never been that part of the world for that extensive period of time.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, wanted to like, see like the culture, the food. I also enjoyed the companies that I was like, with. I haven't like, seen them like, for a while. So it was just kind of, it was mesmerizing. It was wonderful. Got to eat a lot of great food. That was
I'm
incredible.
sure.
It was unreal.
Did you go to the pyramids in Egypt?
No, I didn't make it that far.
Oh,
No.
wow.
No, it was. I mean, getting into Jordan in itself was like pretty difficult because I was like driving in, and
Yeah.
there's like some conflict going on right now. We all know, so there's a lot of like issues that was like kind of having.
Huh.
So it was just like even at the border, I was kind of stopped and kind of like in a question what the heck I'm like driving into, like like with a car that rented from Saudi Arabia to Jordan, and they were like very very questioning. It's pretty hard. And all that stuff I kind of like got deterred me from like even explore further into Egypt, because that would put me very close to the war zone,
Yeah.
like going into that way, because my original plan was to drive around that way. And there's some ferries that you can take across the Red Sea there. But no, I still had a lot of fun. I still had like an amazing time, and all, but did miss out Alaska, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
was like, oh God, like I've seen like reels and all the videos coming out. I almost had a crazy idea that like afterwards we were like we're kind of like talking about it the day that we were planned for Alaska, that I was gonna come back from Egypt at like Middle Eastern trip, literally land, and the night off I was gonna fly out to Alaska.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. Like I thought about it. I'm like to the last minute I was like, oh, I'm gonna book a flight, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna book a flight, I'm gonna do it. But God, that would have been like just literally
that would've-
traveled around the world.
Yeah, that would have been miserable.
That would have been
Yeah,
miserable.
That would have been miserable.
But I'm definitely stoked that you guys like had such a great experience, because I've like like I've checked off snowboarding in Alaska before, because I have best friend, her Riley, like she lived over there, like lives in Juneau, and we went up there. I think it was like 3 years ago. I mean, not as it was like a very maritime like situation there. It's like the snow is very heavy, riding is very like it's like thicker, but like it's still Alaska, right? Like it's
Yeah.
still super sick. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
so, but like I'm still like willing to one day probably go up there and do it again,
Oh,
run it
blast.
back.
Yeah. I Dude, I that was such a magical experience that I will live in Alaska at some point in my life.
Yeah,
I Whether it's for like a full winter and just really get the full like Alaska experience, but dude, there was something about like there is not a place that you drive that isn't gorgeous.
yeah,
Like it is just constant beauty.
so
No
pretty.
no matter where you are, you look in 360 degrees and it's like ocean here, alpenglow on the mountains with the ocean, and the whole ocean in those bays around Anchorage are completely frozen.
Yeah.
Um, but man, it is a really beautiful place. So do you think you'd want to go back to Egypt to be able to see the pyramids at some point?
I've been there before.
Ah.
Yeah, I've been there like before, but like I just wanted to like kind of do. I've been there almost like a lot of like like a stopover flights before.
Mm.
I haven't really truly experienced that. My idea was to like actually stay there a few days, have a car, so I drive around to like all these like local spots. That I never got to do, so I kind of wanted to experience that. But I do want to go back. I feel like it would be a lot more fun to actually have a crew from here to
Yeah.
go over there and explore, like do like our
But
summer
man-
retreat.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Blaze.
Great Thaw.
the
we got
great,
to-
the great thaw. Yeah. Wow, that would be the great thaw.
That would be an amazing Great Thaw.
Yeah.
Like
well,
going to all the flea markets, like
Oh, Blaze.
bargaining, like
Yeah.
this like top of our lungs, just like
Yeah, I would love to get into some flea markets and bargain my ass off.
Yeah.
I would get smoked, just a silly American making silly mistakes in English. Yeah, I would get my wallet would be abused.
oh yeah,
So we're already getting close to an hour here. The check-in took a while. So I don't want to get too deep into Boston because that is like that is a full episode in
I
and
think
of itself.
it has to be like a good thing we checked in and kind of got all like everything we've been up to kind of out of the way. I feel like Boston. Like I know like a lot of friends that like after like we talked about a little bit like hints and drops like they've been asking about it,
Yeah.
but I feel like it needs to have like it needs to be like a full episode.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 2-part series. Austin Does Boston Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey, did you just come up with that? That's sick. Austin Does Boston. Love
Yeah,
it.
Austin Does Boston on the fly. Look at that improv. So in terms of the rest of our winter and what we got going on, I'm going to actually be here in Colorado for a little bit.
Yeah.
Depending on what this hut trip does, we'll see. I know we have hotel reservations in Jackson Hole, like
Yeah.
tentatively. If
We'll kind of like I said, like, this is kind of the beauty of our setup for all our close friends, like being nurses, being in hospitality industry, a little bit flexible, you being totally unemployed.
what? I'm just not employed by a company.
He's fun employed. That's what he is.
No, I'm self-employed. How do you think I pay for this condo and my mortgage?
I know. Just teasing you. But no, I think yeah, like we can definitely obviously keep a very close eye on everything that's going on with the weather-wise and kind of make a last-minute call that this is the weather window we gotta chase.
Yeah.
Because I do wanna go to Jackson, and they finally have great coverage, but at the same time, I wanna like snowboard blower Potter there. I feel like that's kind of the
Well, like-
valley.
Joaquin was telling us the other day,
Yeah.
if that place can be hit or miss. Jackson is so quintessential in the ski industry, but like he was saying, he's been to Jackson a few times, and every time he's been there, it's been boilerplate ice,
Mhm.
like haven't had snow, and that's what the beginning of the season was there. And it looks crazy good right now, but we're still a week or two out or whatever, so things could change. Let's
Yeah.
hope they get more snow from this cycle, and we'll kind of play it by ear. But regardless of the hut trip happening or not, we'll definitely make a trip out of it. Whether it's going down, we're talking about going down to the San Juans, down to the Silverton area, and doing some objectives down in that area that I've been wanting to tick off. So that can be an option. Regardless, we're going to be skiing
For sure.
God, it's kind of crazy that we're in the latter half of the season,
Yeah,
which
we
is
are.
kind of crazy. It feels like I don't
Flew
know
by,
where the
man.
time went. Maybe it's because I haven't been home the entire season, but it's pretty crazy. I was looking at my Icon Pass. I'm sorry for the people that hate these passes. I have one, and it makes my life really easy. Okay. I was looking at my Icon Pass. I've skied at 17 destinations.
That's crazy.
That's what makes these things cool. I
Yeah.
get it. Like, these huge companies can suck ass in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But I would never be able to afford skiing the amount of days that I ski at 17 different destinations around the world.
We should do a fun thing. We should gather our friend group one day and maybe after end of the season we can kind of calculate out if the window ticket price of the places that we went versus the amount of days that we went, how much money it would have been at the end of the season if we were to pay day by day by day.
Oh my god.
It would be absurd number. That would be kind of
I'm
fun
at,
though. Look into it.
I'm at 50 something days on the Icon.
Average say $150, $200 a ticket.
Yeah, let's do the math there. That's actually kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Um,
That's like
see.
$7,500 almost. That's insane.
let's just say 60 days.
Yeah.
It's $9,000
Jeez.
for ticket price. What's kind of crazy is Icon contracts for all the resorts that they don't own outright. Rest in peace, Arapahoe Basin. I send my condolences. Arapahoe Basin was just purchased by Altera. Oh God, here we go.
Ugh.
That the last frontier, man.
The last big frontier.
The last frontier was swallowed up by Evil Snow, which is kind of sad to think about, man. That place is just so legendary in Colorado skiing in terms of just the atmosphere, and there's one little lodge, little midway thing. You park right on the snow. Everyone's got their grills out. Gaper Day is that place is fucking crazy on
Yeah.
April 1st, dude. It is
Insane.
out of control. So things will change there, but I know for the resorts that are contracted with Icon, most of them Icon pays $10 per day for a swipe of their Icon
Yeah.
pass, which you think about it at the end of the day, these resorts contract with Icon because it just brings tourism. It brings money. Skiing itself is skiing and golfing are the two most difficult industries to be profitable in.
Mhm.
Running a golf course and running a ski resort, a lot of years are not profitable.
Yeah.
And that is why ski resorts are the way that they are now, with the lodging and the restaurants and the salons and the massage and all these things.
Yeah.
We would never dream of
No.
ever doing such horrific things. But, I think we're pretty few and far between. The real hardcore skiers are
Yeah, yeah.
not the majority of people that have Icon passes. Most people buy an Icon pass and ski 10 days a year, or they're going one trip.
Mhm.
And it makes financial sense. If you go to Colorado for a week, it
Yeah.
makes financial sense just to buy the Icon pass for
Exactly.
whatever it costs for the or even just buying the 4-pass thing through Icon makes sense to just buy the pass. And then you're just spending a shit ton of money on lodging and food, and that's where they make their money. So, it's an interesting thing. I haven't really discussed this with you, but I am talking with Icon right now,
Yeah.
joining their athlete and ambassador team for 24-25. So I've got that meeting next week, which is exciting. So, as much as I hate like big evil snow, Icon has also given me a platform to like be able to like ski in all of these crazy places affordably. And sure, I get it. It comes in, big money comes in. I'm from Big Bear, California, dude. That resort was as hodunk like as it gets. And now I go home and I don't even recognize the city that I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
It's like wild. They came in and bought Snow Valley, Snow Summit, and Bear Mountain outright. Alterra owns that.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that they are pouring into those communities, it is. It's like weird. It's like it literally changes an entire town. Just one company owning so much of the town. It's, hotels are popping up. It's just different.
Wow.
So I get it, like why people are so frustrated with some of these passes, especially like local folks. Like we were getting berated at Alyeska. Some of the locals at Alyeska are fucking assholes. And like, I don't even get that whole thing. It's because like some guy, our first day at Alyeska, and it was so surprising that we met Andy and all these other guys from Alaska, because our first day in Alaska, we're like, this place, like, these people fucking suck. Like, fuck them. Like, what? We are on the tram at Alyeska, and we're, like any tram, you're packed in there like a sardine, and the guy standing next to me, like, bumped into me, which knocked... I was holding my skis with one hand, and it kind of knocked my skis out of my hand, and I just caught them, like, quickly.
Yeah.
Didn't touch anyone. This guy standing on the right side of me looks at me and goes, "Must be an Iconer. I can see you guys from a mile away." And was just, like, staring me down, and I was like, I can see a fucking douchebag right in front of me. And it's like, what's the deal, man? Like, I
Yeah.
get it. Like, I get that, like, Icon comes in here, but, like,
Would you rather your resort
closing?
Yeah, because they can't
Who
keep
the
up?
hell's flying to Girdwood, Alaska? Not many people.
Yeah.
Locals are definitely not going to keep that place afloat.
Yeah.
Like, that's not enough people live there to, like, actually make it make sense.
Yeah.
And if an individual owned a business,
Mhm.
let's say they were a photography business or a restaurant, and some company just comes along and been like, hey, we're going to send you customers and money. We're going to send you both of those things.
Yeah.
But you just have to let the customers come to your business. That's all you have to do. Let them come to your business, and we're going to give you money, and we're going to give you more clients to spend money at these things. Who's saying no to that?
Exactly.
If someone came to Mountain Born Media today
Yeah.
and said, I'm going to give you a list of leads and clients for free, and they're also going to spend money and sign the contract,
Yeah.
who on God's green earth would say no to that?
Exactly.
Same thing that happened at A-Basin.
Yeah.
The owners of A-Basin, the family, said they will never sell out.
Yeah.
It gets to a point, man, that you can't be an idiot.
Mhm.
Like, I'm, the numbers aren't out yet on what that deal was, but Alterra has unlimited money, and they came to a family-owned business and probably gave them a deal that they could not say no to.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking like generational wealth,
Mhm.
sort of can't say no to.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, A-Basin is a little bit. I feel like it hits close to like heart of a lot of people, because I feel like that's a resort that a lot of people that I personally even know that buys season pass for, like specifically A-Basin season pass.
Yeah.
I feel like so that kind of like tells you how like that whole resort is loved by a lot of locals, which I understand it, but at the end of the day, like given how unpredictable the snow like condition has been, like throughout the year and everything, like you're not attracting like tourists coming in, because like you make money from selling your local season pass, but how much? Like it's not that much that it's not gonna like sustain you to like keep going, keep like running this like lifts and operating to the highest level,
Yeah.
paying everybody like all the wages and everything, because it doesn't really add up. You really need tourists coming in. You really need people coming in and like spending money at your resort, which I get. Like the A Basin, like like sold out. They for the longest time they said they would never do it.
Yeah.
That was their statement. But I totally understand why they had to do it, because it's like at the end of the day, everything has become so unpredictable, and it's like not as accessible as it used to be. Like snow was like I would talk to our friends that grew up here, but like snow, like in winter it was snow every single day, 4 or 5 inches every single day. That was like kind of the norm, and people come from all over the world and like chase the snow, because that's like where the good snow is. Now it's like it will snow 1 week, it wouldn't snow for 2 weeks, like more.
Yeah.
So that's why the big passes make sense, because like they have the control over just like okay, so it's snowing this part of the hemisphere this time of the year. They're making a lot of money from tourism there. They can actually share those money and in like those funds throughout the whole like all of their portfolio. So that's how it kind of works out for like the big company like that.
Yeah.
But like having a moms and pop like ski resort it's a great appeal, and we all only gonna strive for it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like given how the economics of snow is right now, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And, I get why that guy was being an asshole on the tram at Alyeska, but it's like you don't have to be an asshole. You can think whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm not getting on the chairlift at any of the resorts we ski at and looking at someone and being like, oh, you're not from Colorado. I can see you from a mile away. That's just being an asshole.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so many people were like that at that resort, to the point where like normally I'm just like, people are dicks, whatever. But like our group collectively was like, what the hell is going on? Like like we're here to like enjoy skiing.
Yeah.
And so it was so refreshing when we met up with Andy and the rest of the crew, and we told them, we're like, man, people are like nasty at Alyeska. And Andy and his son looked at us and he was like, yeah, those are Girdwood Alyeska people. Like those are the nobody in Alaska likes them. They're like their own breed, because it's like a super wealthy area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was such a turnoff and yeah, it worked. Like I don't want to really go back there. The skiing's not that great. Like it's okay, but there's way better stuff in the lower 48 that are a lot easier to get to than Alyeska Ski Resort. Like that, it's a tiny little place with 4 lifts. And I wanted to say to that guy on the tram, it's like, have you ever skied anywhere other than Alaska? I'm sure he has. Like he looked like a pretty seasoned skier.
Yeah.
Like maybe like mid-30s, but like, yeah, he's probably skied in Colorado and Utah. And it's like, all right, no one's ever saying that shit to you when you come out to our state.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, anyways, the people of Alaska are actually awesome. That was just like a weird turnoff for some of like these local hardasses that think that they own everything, which they don't really own anything.
Yeah.
Actually, Icon is keeping you afloat. So, anyways, I know I'm going to get some flack for these comments, but it's the truth that nobody really wants to look at, is that so many of these places actually can't stay afloat without the help of some of these bigger passes and marketing and everything that comes along with becoming like an Icon or Epic or Mount Collective, whatever. Any of these major passes are actually helping places stay afloat right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
In like a pretty tumultuous industry.
Yeah.
Especially with the rise of backcountry skiing and stuff now, like people are like making a shift. Like backcountry is like taking this huge uptick, and that, I mean, we're also seeing with the uptick of like people going to the backcountry, it's a lot more deaths and like things happening.
Accidents,
and it's becoming a much more prevalent topic in the ski industry. Is like, yeah, backcountry is like a dangerous thing. So, at the end of the day, we enjoy these big passes because they actually make it possible for like people like me and you
Yeah.
who are pretty hardened skiers and snowboarders to like
I would
actually
I
go
would
see the
never
world.
get into snowboarding if there was like no passes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
like a lot
not
of
affordable.
so many people that I know would never, cuz like I never grew up here, so like I never would think like investing this much money into just like, day passes and just learning, that doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah,
Like, can you imagine spending like $250 to go on a bunny slope?
yeah.
No.
Well, somebody who was that was just telling us? God, I can't remember who that was. Somebody was saying that at Breckenridge right now to take a private, like a children's private lesson at Breckenridge for one day is over $1,000
Whoa.
for like a private lesson for like your kid. So if you go up to Breckenridge and you're a parents and you want to get rid of the kids for the day, it's $1,000 for that's private lesson. Yeah, I'm sure group lessons are less. I saw at or what ski resort was I at the other day? I think it was A-Basin actually. That it was like lift ticket, rentals, and day lesson was like $300 or $400, which is, I guess, more understandable.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of money, dude.
Yeah.
That's half of my season pass.
Yeah.
Thank God I grew up in the community that I did, and that we had ski lessons through our school.
Mhm.
Like every Friday, we went up Friday night. There was colored flags in the snow, and there was like these teenage instructors, and we're all like little 6 and 7-year-old elementary school kids, and we run up there to our colored flag, and the parents would drive us up there, and they would all hang out in the lodge and drink beers and whatever and socialize, and all the kids would go up, and they had the ski bus. We'd go up there and ski from 2 to 9 every Friday. Like, that's where I learned to ski.
Nice.
Private lessons, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like on Parents Now. Anyways, that's our update.
Yeah.
A lot has been going on. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh here went on his Middle Eastern escapades. Old Beckstein here got the taste of a lifetime in Alaska, Utah, Colorado.
Yeah, we also snowboarded, we skied in Utah together.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
you flew out.
I can't. No, I didn't. I didn't flew out. My cousin was here, and
Oh, that's
I
right.
drove. Like,
And then
took a Moab trip.
Flew
like
back.
flew back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that
was
was
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, caught a couple of one good day at Snowbird was all right.
Yeah. Brighton was
Nice.
awesome.
Oh, that was a nice day.
Yeah.
Step right in that day.
Good time.
Yeah. Anyways, that is all we have got for you guys this week. Thank you so much to all the listeners, all the support that you guys have given us. This has been a super fun experience. We've got more awesome guests lined up. And if there's anything that you guys have questions about, need help with, any people struggling with mental health, substance use, you know who to reach out to. I've got you. Falling Off the Floor podcast. We are out.
Bye.